And we live.
We're live.
This is the first live show, and my man Ryan Gregno, am I pronouncing the last name right?
You got it.
And Six Pack Lap of that, brought to you by Powerliftingmotivation.com. And we're gonna call up Stefi Cohen. This is a good first one.
Yeah.
She's hot in the game right now. This is as big as it gets right now.
Yeah,
So we'll start it off. We got some questions from everybody. Can't super read what you guys are writing, but shoot it every now and then if you want to pop up there if you got any good questions. And obviously ignore the trolls. We got a lot of marriage proposals for some reason for Stefi Cohen. Well, one of them was from you though.
That's you trying to get me in trouble?
Okay, let's see what she's saying.
Oh, there we go. Happens every time.
Yeah. Okay, I hear it. Stefi, I hear you. You there?
What's up?
Hey, how's it going? I think our video's not kicked in yet. Can you see me?
No, I don't see you, but I'm actually like 5 minutes away from a Wi-Fi spot at home.
Oh, okay.
You can definitely get started now. I see you now.
There, I see you too. Okay, so should we wait? Are you driving right now?
I'm not driving, Kaden's driving.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, wow, we can wait if it's we don't gotta necessarily do it right. Okay, so I'll click it. Should we start now or should we wait 5 minutes? Do you think?
I'm like 5 minutes away. We can like chat a little bit, and then when I get home, I'll let you know.
Works for me. Works for me. Okay, so we're already live on the King of the Lifts. So I guess we'll just start right off the bat. Anybody who's been following powerlifting knows that Stefi Cohen is, unless you live in a cave somewhere under a rock, whatever, just woke up out of a coma. So Stefi, you can see and hear me. Ryan's on the other side, and I'll be looking at you on a big monitor. If it looks like I'm not looking at you, I'll just be looking at the monitor, okay?
Okay, cool.
Okay, so right off the bat, we'll do a little bit of background, because everybody knows, like, it feels like your star has risen so quickly. You know, breaking all these records in the 123 class, breaking into the 500-pound deadlift range, and everybody's super excited, like, where could the limits possibly be, right? It reminds me a lot of, like, the way people are talking about you right now is kind of like they were talking about Ray when he's hunting down that 1,000-pound squat. Yeah. And it just makes people excited because everybody's like, what is the possible limits? And you're doing weight, particularly in a deadlift, but all your lifts are solid. With that deadlift, you know, everybody's getting excited. You got dudes who are like 250-pound men, you know, who are just like, I can't wait to see what she's going to be pulling next. And it's got everybody excited. So it's kind of like we want to back it up a second and get a little bit of background on this latest, powerlifting's latest star, Stefi Cohen. So where were you born? Where are you from?
I'm originally from Venezuela. I live in Miami, Florida. I've been living there for about 7 years, and right now I'm doing a clinical rotation for school. So I'm in physical therapy school in my 3rd year, about to graduate, and now I'm doing a rotation here in Chicago. So it's an 8-week-long rotation. I have about 3 weeks left. I'm just enjoying this wonderful weather here in Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah. See, we're from Toronto, so we feel your pain. Chicago gets brutal too in terms of this time of year.
This is like too much.
Yeah, no, especially if you're used to Venezuela. Now, how old are you right now? If you don't mind me asking. 25? Okay. And how old were you when you came over from Venezuela?
I think I had just turned 18.
Wowzers. Okay, so you've been here 7 years. So you lived most of your life in Venezuela.
Most of my life, yep.
So growing up in Venezuela, obviously that's a huge difference then. So to bring us back a little bit in terms of growing up in Venezuela and a little bit of difference for a lot of people who don't know. I mean, I've been in Venezuela once on vacation. Yeah, but it wasn't like, you know where Margarita Island is?
Yeah.
This is, so that's where I was at, like a resort. I can't really, like I didn't soak up the Venezuelan culture, you know what I mean? I'm no expert on it. But for some people who don't know, so tell us a little bit about Venezuela, for some people who don't know what it's like there. A little bit of a difference between North American culture.
a lot to be said as far as cultural differences from that go between Venezuela and the United States and Canada. I would say the main one. Well, as far as just like growing up there, just what you do on a day-to-day basis it's very different. Like, for example, simple things like taking buses or public transportation, those things don't really exist, especially if you're middle class, upper middle class. It's very dangerous to take public transportation. So
Really?
you would be confined you'd be confined to your house and maybe like your community center or wherever you had a membership to. That was pretty much like what you did. You had things like cooks and drivers and maids because labor used to be so cheap. So it was just something that everyone had, like pretty common.
Wow, this is like almost like a bit of a clash in the worlds. So you had cooks and maids and etc. But you, at the flip side, you couldn't leave your house because it was so dangerous outside.
No, yeah, it's very dangerous. Yeah, it's stuff like walking outside. You can't really walk outside and take the bus or simple things like that. Very different.
Yeah, to say the least. You just leaving your car right now, getting into your spot.
Yeah, I'm about to walk in my place.
Okay, we're getting an impromptu tour of Stefi Cohen's house.
Yeah, it's awesome. We're Airbnb-ing right here, and we got a pretty sweet deal. It's like a basement in someone else's house. So, here's that shit. Oh,
And there's a famous dog that we see all the time in your Instagram stories. You brought him, eh?
Of course, I don't leave him anywhere. I love him so much.
That's like my girl.
Yeah.
Okay, so talking about Venezuela a little bit. So for us that are used to, so did you guys have like a big house? Was it because you're well off in Venezuela, or is this just like normal Venezuelan culture where everybody had this kind of help around the house?
What do you mean?
Well, like to have for me picturing it, when I picture like having like maids and cooks, I picture like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You know that TV show? Is it like that? It's like that's honestly in North America. That's what you picture when you think about that, right? Would be like.
Yeah, it's pretty common. Big-ish houses. Everything's kind of like done for you. Oh my god, that's good. Holy shit! You should see how my place is right now. Hold on a second. Look at this.
Wowzers! Oh no! Somebody went to town in there.
Yeah, that's extra. Yeah. So I wanted to actually touch up on the difference in terms of like playing sports in Venezuela versus here.
Yeah.
Like what you imagine that being a professional athlete in Venezuela would be like. So I played soccer for the national team for 5 years, and it's crazy. I didn't know any better, obviously, back there, but we never went to a gym. So things that most professional athletes would do, like going to a gym, squatting, deadlifting, cleaning, whatever, that didn't really exist. We didn't have access to any sort of facility. We trained in, our soccer field was inside of a military base.
Holy smokes.
I have no idea why.
Yeah.
But that's not the only thing we had access to. It was a dirt field. The goals had no nets. We didn't really have a gym. We didn't have like specialty coaches or anything like that. My coach was like this old man. I have no idea what his credentials were.
He didn't have. He was a janitor. Yeah. He cleaned up.
He wasn't quite certified.
No credentials. No like really real education or any of that. He just kind of put together the team and told us what to do.
And you guys so you guys were professionals. Did you tour around Venezuela or even beyond? Playing soccer?
Yeah, we toured around Venezuela a lot, and this was the most interesting part. So, me being from the middle, upper class, it was very uncommon for people from my school or the schools around my area to even be involved with like national level sports because I'm telling you, it's like very low level.
Yeah.
So, these girls used to live in projects and things like that. They were really dependent on the money they made from, what were we getting paid? I think it was something like $50 a month.
Holy smokes! And this was like, you could live off stuff like that?
Back there, no, you can't really live off of that. That would, you'd be really struggling. Really struggling.
It would just be kind of like excess money for the other girls to send back home kind of thing.
Because you would have been, she would have been a teenager.
Yeah.
That was like big enough for them. Yeah. Well, I was lucky I had the support of my parents, but none of the other girls did. So it was an interesting experience to be able to just tour around the country and just stay in these very poor parts of the country that were extremely dangerous, that were never going to have, it wasn't because I wasn't with the team. You know, we used to tour the country in this red bus, red color of the government, and I remember how it happened to time. So we just took this red bus to the US, like, let's go to Chavez. And I was obviously not a supporter of Chavez, but I had to pretend I was. And
so what's this, sorry? Because you're breaking up a little bit. You had to pretend you're a supporter of what, sorry?
Chavez, it was the current president.
Oh, right.
He's a dictator.
Yeah.
Oh, wowzers, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I mean, I'm sure some people watching didn't know that either. So, is Venezuela, so you grew up under a dictatorship in Venezuela?
So it was, they didn't call it a dictatorship, they called it socialism, but
Okay.
I mean, it was definitely a dictatorship, and yeah.
Wow.
He pretty much controls everything. He would take properties away from people, he would, you know, turn the lights on and off, like neighborhood-wise whenever he felt like it, just things like that, expropriations, I don't know, all sorts of crazy things.
Wowzers, this is a totally different. So he had obviously total control of your everyday life and media and whatnot. So how would you be able to leave Venezuela? In terms of like actually leaving Venezuela and moving from Venezuela? You got a bit of an internet connection here issue. Are you on Wi-Fi over there?
Yeah, so I was
Okay.
very lucky because I had at least, you know, I had, yeah, definitely on Wi-Fi.
You know what? One sec here. We're gonna let me see here. I'm gonna possibly, if I turn off video, see if my Wi-Fi works out a little better.
Hey, Hayden. Oh, I'm on.
You know what?
Should I turn my camera up?
You know what? Let me see. I'm gonna click on the call connection here. Connection's very slow. You just all of a sudden got a lot better.
Yeah.
So it came in for some reason. Okay, we'll continue on like that. Okay, so so it was a dictatorship growing up. So how did you end up leaving Venezuela?
Right, so I was lucky because I took a lot of English classes for my whole life, so I spoke English, that was one thing. I had a really good education, and I also played soccer. So those three things together were powerful enough to allow me to apply to good schools in the US and for potential scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to film this video of me playing soccer and saying, talking a little bit about why I wanted to move to the States. It's actually on YouTube.
Oh,
I don't even want to tell you guys like what it's called.
I'm so looking for it.
I'm like 15 years old, and I'm talking about how I want to, you know, go to the States and be an engineer or something to change the world. Something crazy.
Did you
like
really
that.
want to be an engineer? You just saying whatever you thought you had to.
I thought I wanted to be an engineer.
Yeah. Well, you're 15.
But so I applied for a few scholarships. I got replies from a couple places. I ended up going to San Diego actually with a potential opportunity for a soccer scholarship there. So I played there for the team for about 4 months. Mm-hmm. Nothing really set in stone. Like it was just kind of like they were letting me try out for the team for a season. And it ended up being really difficult for me to adjust, especially to a culture, a changing culture, being 18 and just in a new country away from my family. That kind of stuff was really tough for me, and trying to balance playing D1 soccer with having to take tests and study in a new language. So
That's a huge culture shock.
Yeah,
18-year-old girl by yourself, leaving your family. Did you have any family waiting for you in the U.S.?
No.
Holy smokes.
So, I mean, things as simple as, to give you an example, the first time I had to do laundry, you know, my laundry kept piling up.
Yeah.
And then I call my mom and I'm like, Mom, what the hell? I don't have any clean underwear. Should I just go buy more? Like what?
Whoa! Wow!
Just, you should take it to the washer and wash it. It's
Well, that's
simple
an
thing, but
Yeah, that's an easy fix. I feel like though, how well was your English at the time? Did you guys speak? You guys spoke enough English anyways to get by, or?
no, I was fluent enough to study.
Okay.
Like to be in school.
That's good.
But it was still difficult. Like there's many words I didn't understand. It was hard for me to take tests in English, that kind of stuff.
Especially when you're an 18-year-old girl, there's slang. That I'm a 38-year-old dude, and I don't even know what the hell some kids are saying. Right?
I still struggle so much with slang. Yeah, slang and sarcasm are the two things that,
Yes.
I smile, I'm like, ah.
That's right.
Smile and nod.
That's what I still do that, man. I still kind of. You also something interesting that you had brought up before. Sometime in your childhood, and I don't know exactly full extent, you've been introduced to Scientology. And a lot of people didn't know that. Now, first question: do you know Tom Cruise? Do you know Will Smith?
I know Tom Cruise. Yeah, it's my buddy.
Yeah, is he there right now? No, he said, yeah.
In church.
We carpool. Don't get it.
Yeah, so my dad used to be a huge Scientologist. So I'm Venezuelan. I'm also a Jew, and then my dad was a Scientologist. So
Wow.
that was his beliefs. He's also a Jew, but he's a Moroccan Jew. Whatever.
Okay.
He used to be super into Scientology, and the way that Scientology works is you're kind of like forced to like start these courses. It's like they hold you against your will, and that's very well known. That's what they do.
Yeah.
I think the first course I ever took, I was maybe like 11 or 12, so I didn't really understand what was going on. But what would happen was that I would go there, I would put in my 2, 3, 4 hours of studying, and then I would want to go home, and I would ask to call my parents to get picked up, and they wouldn't even let me use my phone. Like they would hold my phone hostage, and they wouldn't even let me communicate with my parents for the whole day.
Whoa! So this is at so were you going to a church on a Sunday, or is this straight up you got dropped off and this is throughout like your week? This is like almost like your schooling? Because 2-3 hours sounds like a long time to be studying.
I usually just did it during the summers. So when I didn't have my regular school, I would do it like every day or every other day. I would go.
Whoa, wowzers, that's intense.
Right.
Wow.
I don't know, really strange things. The thing with Scientology is that the first few courses you take are actually very helpful. Like, the first one was called Learning How to Learn.
Mm-hmm.
The second one was called Communication Tools for more efficient communication or something like that along those lines. The third one was also useful. I forgot the name of it, but very like good tools to have, especially for someone who's 11, 12 years old. Like I was ahead of the game by studying those things.
Yeah.
But then you kind of like get into this cycle of okay, they offered me these 3 courses that were very helpful. Let's see what the 4th one is like, and it just kind of like gets progressively weirder and stranger and stranger.
Yeah.
It just like drag you in until you can't leave.
Wowzers! And you're
Kind of like what it is.
and the thing is, as a 12-year-old girl, if your dad is in, you're not like, what are you gonna do? You're not getting out. Like it'd be different if you're a 22-year-old woman. Yeah, even then, I don't know if some people have seen documentaries. It's difficult. Like it's literally like for adults to leave. I don't know how real this is. Maybe I don't know if you had experienced this, but would they have somewhat confessionals where you start open talking, and then when you try to leave, they have so much about you. It's not a clean break. It's
They manipulate you. Yeah, they do this like confession things. They call it with an emitter, where you have to like hold on to this like 2 metal cans and a needle it goes back and forth. They read it based on if you're telling the truth or not. Something really, really weird. But basically one of those songs, like after a few weeks, I was like, fuck this shit. I was maybe 13, and I just refused to go in. Like there was just no way you could even like put me inside of that classroom again.
Yeah.
Like
And your dad
stood on the floor, like I'm not fucking moving. I'm like staying here. This is fucked up.
And what did your dad say? He's like, cool. Your dad said that was fine.
He was very disappointed. Very
You know-
disappointed. He said that I was embarrassing him and all these things. But I was like, I respect it. That's what you want to do, but
Yeah.
I can't. Like it's too much. It's crazy. And he eventually snapped out of it too. Obviously,
No kidding.
years later.
Yeah.
What took me years took him a few more.
Yeah. But he ended up, if I was your dad, I would have been like, that's a shame. Because, you know, the word was Tom Cruise was coming by this week. And then, you know, you just keep dangling that carrot. Tommy Seale might be coming by. I don't know. I know that's the word.
Is he still very involved with it?
You know what? We don't talk as much as we used to, but I think he is. I heard Tom Cruise, Will Smith, and actually Jerry Seinfeld. Now, this is turning into a gossip session right now, but I think Jerry Seinfeld. You know Jerry Seinfeld?
I have no idea.
Yeah? You can't confirm or deny?
I cannot confirm.
Jerry Seinfeld, Scientology, is that what you're saying?
I think so. I swear to God, I read that somewhere.
That's back?
I think, I don't know. Are you back in now? Did I just talk you back into it? You know, blood changes everything. No kidding. So how did you end up? So you came, picking back up where we left off, come to the U.S. And you're having a hard time adapting. When did you end up start weightlifting? Because right now you're already 18.
Mm-hmm.
So where did you end up lifting weights and start getting into that?
Okay, so yeah, I got to the States. Eventually stopped playing soccer. I was just playing recreational, maybe a few pickup games a week kind of thing. But I don't know, I'm such a competitive person. I really enjoy, that's one of the things that I enjoy most in life, kind of competition and having a defined goal and something that I can work toward.
Yeah.
So I really missed, especially the competitive aspect of sports. So I just started trying out a bunch of different things. I was in kickboxing classes. I started running half marathons. I started trying to swim, those kind of things, just to try to see what I was good at. Something that I could have, even a little bit of talent that I could compete at higher level or win some stuff. I don't know. So eventually I started sticking with half marathons. I ended up running 8 in a year. I'm very obsessive like that. I just kind of
wow, yeah, you're the all-in type.
Yeah, all in.
Yeah.
So I ran 8 half marathons. I was never really good. I think my best time ever was 1:38, which, I mean, for training, I think I trained for, a year and a half, and I got down to about 1:38 half marathon, which is somewhere around 7:10 pace per mile.
Is that good?
7 minutes per mile for 13 miles.
That sounds good. See, we're powerlifters, so that sounds amazing for me.
Well, the 5-minute mile is a big deal.
Yeah, no, it's...
Right?
Yeah.
So, over the pace of 13,
yeah,
I'd say that's pretty solid.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're talking. All right. Gotcha.
So it definitely wasn't... I was always top 10 in my category, but obviously not great to go to the Olympics or anything like that. But so then I did CrossFit. CrossFit was kind of the new trendy thing to do. I really, really liked it, but to be good at CrossFit, you have to be good at so many other things. It's not just endurance, which I was really good at back then, but I needed to know how to do Olympic weightlifting and to know how to do gymnastics, you have to be strong to a certain level, you have to have all these different skills, and I just didn't have the time. I wasn't called full-time kind of thing, so I also had a job, so it was difficult for me to get good at all these things. So I said, what if I focus on one thing at a time? Maybe one day I can compete more seriously in CrossFit. So I started doing weightlifting. That was kind of the gateway. Olympic weightlifting. I found myself a coach, started doing Olympic weightlifting, ditched CrossFit, found out that I could be really good at weightlifting. Then I found Hayden, who did powerlifting and Olympic weightlifting together. And that's kind of where I'm at right now.
You know, it's interesting that you said you found powerlifting lat, because we were in the gym the other day, me and Ryan, and you just said, thank God CrossFit has too many events and isn't specialized enough. Because how many people start off and man, I got a job. I can do a couple events okay, but not enough to be competitive. You start messing around some squats or whatever, and you're like, if I can just focus on one, I wonder what I could do. Yeah. And it's a lot easier to qualify too. In terms of showing up at an event and being I don't know what's going to get thrown my way. If you know, like you said, goal-driven, how many people we talk to on this show, and they're they want to chase goals. So you have those round numbers, like the 500 deadlift, and stuff that you chase a goal with a numeric value is a lot more exciting than just random, what's the workout today? I don't know. Till we get tired, till we barf. So, and how did you find,
100%.
you were just saying too, before we came on, so your boyfriend's actually Canadian, and it looks like your other partner in this business is also Canadian. So how did you end up meeting him in terms of moving into the weightlifting? And was it in Canada or was he down there?
Well, you want the true story? Or
Was it? Give us the cute meat. They call that the cute meat in Hollywood. You guys developed.
The true story, Hayden totally slid into my DMs.
Whoa! Look at you just gave hope. You just gave hope to so many guys right now. Like, yo, that works. I gotta slide into DMs. No kidding.
So I was selling weightlifting singlets a few years ago. This was actually a really, really good business. Think about this. So I had a guy in Venezuela who made this singlet for me, and I paid him $2 per singlet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nothing. Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay, and I sold them here for $85.
Whoa! Wow!
Right?
Whoa, Marka!
Entrepreneur.
You're an entrepreneur. You gotta get yourself like a gang of 13-year-olds to make these for you. You got something.
Then you gotta send us that guy's number.
That's right. No kidding.
You want? That is awesome.
Yeah.
So I was selling weightlifting singlets, and Hayden sent me a direct message. He says that he was pretending that he was interested in the singlets, but that he was really interested in talking to me. That's
yeah, no, I know all about that kind of. Yeah, come in with a different story, the old switching bait. I got you. And then, so was he still in Canada at the time?
Sorry?
Was Hayden still in Canada at the time, or where was he located?
So he was in Miami for a competition.
Gotcha.
A weightlifting competition that we both were doing, and he messaged me. He was actually training at the gym I used to go to, and so he was just like, hey, I'm training at your same gym, like, you want to get a workout in? I said yes, and then the rest is history.
You're like, all right, you're lucky I've been taking some kickboxing. I feel comfortable meeting you. Things go sour, don't get funny, huh? So you guys started, so he was kind of your...
I'm from Venezuela, I'm not scared of anyone.
That's right, yeah, exactly. You've been in worse situations.
Yeah, I come from the jungle, you never know what you're going to
That's right, he's the one who needed backup. He's the one who had to tell people where he's going. So you met him and you started getting into strength training, and I guess he kind of introduced you into the power lifts or Olympic lifting, and you guys progressed from there, or?
Yeah, I remember it was this one occasion where I was doing my weightlifting workouts, some snatch, clean jerks, some regular clean pulls, and he was like, hey, do you want to try a sumo deadlift? And I was like, oh, sure, I mean, why not? Oh, actually, no, it wasn't like that. I was really skeptical to do it. I'm like, I'm going to mess up my whole weightlifting program. Like, why?
The irony. Yeah. If only you knew what this was going to do. The door that was about to open, right?
Exactly. Like, I did not want to do it, but he eventually talked me into it, and I ended up pulling something, like, my best conventional pull back then was, maybe like 230 pounds or something like that, 240. Yeah. And I pulled that day 300 pounds.
Like right off the bat?
Yeah.
Not a bad start.
No, that's not bad. I'm kind of good at that. It felt really easy. It felt like natural, and maybe I should do this more often.
Yeah.
Little by little, another coming out of bench, and then I slowly started fading out the weightlifting portions of my workout, and started putting in more powerlifting.
So what was your first meet then, when you first started doing your first powerlifting meet?
It was an APA. Hayden, wasn't an APA meet? Bobby, APA, right? What's that? American Powerlifting Association? What is that?
I think it's a WPC.
Whatever.
American's version of WPC, I think. No, or maybe I'm off. I believe so.
I'm not sure.
I have no idea. It's small. It's a small fed. It's based out of Florida. Yeah,
and
right.
How long ago was that?
My first powerlifting meet 2 years ago.
What? 2 years ago? What the shit? So when I said you came out of nowhere like a hot rising star here, like a meteoric rise, yeah, 2 freaking years. Because honestly, not to go like tooting your horn too much here, we got you on already, but seriously, it seems like everybody's like you. When I told you we had Stefi Cohen on, you're like, that's the it girl right now, powerlifting. And the fact that you came in like 2 freaking years is nuts to me. And you weren't really heavily weightlifting.
Yeah, mainly weightlifting.
So in your first meet, just to get a barometer, so you pulled 300, and then how quickly, are we talking like 300 pounds was like 2 years ago, or a little before 2 years ago? You're 300 pounds?
Yeah, 300 pounds. But I think my first meet I pulled, Hayden, what did I pull? 370 I pulled in my first meet.
Wowzers.
375, yeah.
So, because, I mean, here's the exciting part about watching your progress right now. I can tell for myself. So we do, obviously, tons of reposts. And I swear to God, it feels like every single week you are just smashing PRs. And it's like you're never coming down in terms of your PR movement. And it kind of reminds me of when Conor McGregor, he kind of came out of nowhere, okay? I don't know if you're a UFC person, but Conor McGregor, are you okay? Sweet, okay. Well, everyone knows Conor McGregor, but so he wins a world championship, and then all of a sudden, as soon as he wins, he's like, I want a title one weight class up, I want a title another weight class up, and people just get all excited. There's something about that person that everyone's like, do you think he can? And then all of a sudden, where everyone's like, that sounds silly, everyone's like, well, fuck, I don't know now. The way the momentum's going, you almost believe this person could do almost anything. So then when you start pulling like into the 500s for multiple reps, and we just threw up there like, what do you think? Not like right away, but down the road, Stefi Cohen going to be pulling 600? And that's crazy. That's insane at your body weight. People like, I wouldn't fucking doubt it. Like you got that kind of momentum, or like maybe not right now, but like you got that kind of, people excited. Which is kind of exciting to see.
Well, and the training attitude you have, right? It's like, okay, so I did a meet Sunday? Record breakers. I'm just going to walk into my buddies and then, just let's do it again.
And then, right.
Let's do it again. Let's do it all over again this weekend.
Yeah.
Most people like take a week off, relax, kind of chill. No, Stefi's just back in there. Boom, we're going to do it again.
Yeah.
It's coming off the floor, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, like how do you, so basically, do you have a favorite lift, the pet lift? Like, is it your deadlift? Because I know some people are amazing at the deadlift, and it's not even the favorite lift. It's actually a tough one for them in terms of training-wise.
No, I definitely enjoy the deadlift the most. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of effortless.
Wow.
As compared to
I believe you.
It feels like it's effortless.
It looks that way, too.
It just feels like I can lift with my mind, almost.
Yeah, and how does your training kind of structure? Because, looking at, so we did a little research walking into this, and looking at your guys' company, it looks like you have, your motto is, look like a bodybuilder, and seeing you and your man's pieced up too, man. Your man's bodied up like a mofo. So check, you guys look like bodybuilders, strong like a powerlifter. You and your mans are strong like powerlifters, and is it explosive like a weightlifter?
Move like a weightlifter.
Well, close. Move like a weightlifter, right?
Fast.
So what kind of all encompasses your guys' training programs?
Well, hold on, Hayden, can you get a hold of that guy? He's like about to pull everything down onto him.
Your dog? Is that your dog?
Yeah, he's a fucking. He's 7 months, so he's at that teenager stage where he's just like fucking everything up.
Oh, he's partying. His mom's distracted.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Okay, I'm back.
Sure.
Yeah, what was your question? Yeah,
we were just talking about like you guys your training out. The unique powerlifting, weightlifting, and then also because you guys do. I read up a little bit in terms of like kettlebell swings, in terms of like doing like bodybuilding exercises, and then also the power lifts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, Hybrid offers like 9 different types of programs, but our most popular one is called Hybrid Performance, and basically it's a combination of Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting, and bodybuilding, or functional bodybuilding, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. So it's all centered around improving strength. So you'll see we use the squat, bench, and deadlift as the main lifts, and athletic and bodybuilding as accessories, essentially. And yeah, we like to use a lot of stuff like heavy farmer carries, trap bar carries, turkey get-ups, sled grabs, sled pushes, that kind of stuff to keep it more quote-unquote functional.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like back in the day, I mean, we're talking 10 years ago, there was like, everyone looked at powerlifters as though they're like unathletic, usually chubby, and it's like nowadays, everybody's much more into, everyone's like bodied up, 6-packs, watching the macros. Do you count macros, by the way?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you do? No kidding. Okay, team macro counting over here as well. So counting macros really onto their nutrition and adding on these other things like farmers carries and whatnot. Do you feel like being more athletic helps you be a better powerlifter? Or do you just like it all around anyways?
100%. Like especially in terms of injury prevention. Mm-hmm. So, being a well-rounded athlete has a lot of benefits just to, keep your body healthy and avoid kind of chronic overuse injuries. Hold on 1 second. Hey, can you like shut that up? I'm like so distracted right now. This is really, really difficult, and I have ADD. So I'm like using my train of thought. What were we talking about just now?
You were just talking about your training methods and whatnot, and how you incorporate.
Yeah. Why do I think that like doing all these other types of movements?
Yeah. For injury prevention, etc. No,
yeah,
longevity.
Being more well-rounded and stuff. But the main thing is like, you can do all these. You should be doing all of these things. Probably not around your competition, but you should have fairly well delineated on and off seasons. Like there is a time and a place for all of this. People think, of course I'm not gonna be fucking pulling a 500-pound sled 3 days before a meet. Of course I'm not gonna do that, or a week or 2 weeks. Like I'm gonna probably be a lot more focused and specialized for whatever meet I'm competing in.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't have anything going on until May, pretty much, the U.S. Open. So I'm actually going to go back to Miami and I'm going to play some soccer. And I'm going to have fun with some tactical training. I don't know, do you know who Real World Tactical is? Tony Santamaria?
I don't think so. Do you know?
I've seen a lot of his videos.
Have you? Okay.
It's insane.
He
It's
lives in
insane
Miami.
shit.
It's just like really close to ours. So I'm going to go train with Tony, have some fun. I'm going to do some CrossFit maybe, and that's really good because one, you come back to training very, very fresh.
Yeah.
Mentally.
Yes. Amen. I've been there.
Yeah.
Right. You come back to your competition prep very fresh, and your aerobic capacities increase. So your ability to do multiple sets, multiple reps at very high intensities is a lot better than someone who either A, took time off, which I think is total bullshit and it's such a stupid thing to do. I'll explain to you why.
Okay.
Or someone who just burnt themselves down or up trying to still be competition prep all year round, 365 days. Like every single sport has an on and off season.
Yeah.
We as should too. Kind of thing.
You know what? So I'm glad you hit up on that because oftentimes, we can ask about like the scheduling that you would recommend, but yeah, you have some people who try to all the way through, just try to be like constantly peaking. It seems like, and yeah, you can either burn out or the opposite. They just take themselves completely out of the game. Where I guess you're saying just switch it up a little bit. You're still training, but switch it up.
Exactly. Every single professional athlete does it that way.
Mm-hmm. What would you recommend in terms of off season? What does yours kind of look like that you like to use? Like how many times is a meet prep for yourself?
I like to do 8-week-long meet preps. I think it's like the perfect amount of time, assuming that I've been training prior to that. So to give you an example, last year I took a trip to Japan and accidentally, that wasn't planned. We thought that the gyms were going to be like widely available, but it was around New Year's time, so we were mostly closed a week before and a week after. Yeah. So we ended up having to take pretty much a month off. That sucked. Like I came back and I had to prep for the U.S. Open that was in April that year. Yeah. And I just couldn't get back into it like fast enough. My strength really, really suffered. Yeah. So I guess it depends how long. That prep was double as long. Yeah, that prep was 16 weeks long and I still sucked. Like I needed a lot more time to be able to ramp things up in a way that made a little bit more sense.
So when you
That's your question?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, so one thing I was going to ask you right there, that's interesting that in Japan they didn't have a lot of gyms, I guess.
Gyms were like $60 to drop in or something crazy like that. Like for example, an fitness type gym, it's like $60 to drop in. CrossFit gyms for $40 or $50 to drop in. And they weren't widely available. We didn't stay in Tokyo the entire time. Like we went to smaller towns, I guess, in Japan that were even harder to find. Yeah. So, at the end it was just like, we're in freaking Japan. Like, are we gonna spend 4 hours of our day training every day, or are we gonna try to enjoy the fact that we're in a completely different different side of the world? So
this is true.
Onto that.
It's too bad. You can't walk in there like, hey, come on, man. You don't have Instagram? You know who I am? 60 hours? I'm going to do you a favor. I'll work out here for free, and I'll let everybody know I'm here. We'll call it even.
They didn't even allow cameras. Like, that was one of their policies.
What the sugar is that all about? Wow.
No, there's a better one. No tattoos. Okay, so if you have a tattoo that's bigger than...
And you can't pull sumo.
Then you can't pull sumo, you can't...
Yeah, it's Japan. Japan likes sumo. You have to pull sumo.
No, the policy is no tattoos bigger than 30 because they have a lot of issues with gangs. So Hayden, he has a tattoo here on his arm and his bicep.
Yeah.
And obviously, Hayden's like such a nice Canadian. When they ask if he has any tattoos, he goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "What the fuck? Just say no."
Yeah, just say no. Keep your shirt on.
Wear long sleeve.
He's like, I can't lie. I'm Canadian. You don't
You
understand.
can't lie. It's just not.
He's like, I'm not from Venezuela. We don't do this.
Exactly. We always are doing things illegally. So.
Wowzers. Wow, I didn't know
So
that.
they measured his tattoo with a ruler, and it was smaller than whatever, but they still made him wrap it with like gauze
No
or something.
kidding. So is Japan, I had no idea Japan had that kind of a gang problem.
Yeah, I mean either. I don't know how big of a problem it really is, but yeah, that's like a policy.
And I tell you what, how amazing would it be to watch a gang fight in Japan? That'd be like a fucking action movie, right?
Yeah, you probably do martial arts.
Dude,
That'd be worth the $40.
I paid the admission. What is it, $60? Okay, I'm in. Me and my man's here. Wowzers. So you
So,
keep,
buddy.
so usually a meet prep then around 8 weeks if you've been training hard. And looking at, do you phase it in terms of like a volume phase where your sets are more like 8s, 10s, and then kind of taper it in into because you do a lot of, maybe it's just for the gram, but we see a lot of singles and some heavy doubles and triples, and that's the stuff that gets everybody all rallied up on the Instagram.
You know, I rarely do any singles. It's mostly 5s, 4s, and 3s. Rarely ever.
Really?
You know,
Okay.
Yeah, rarely ever singles. Maybe I maxed out deadlift a couple times just because I was in front of a crowd. But
Yeah, when you're doing seminars, and
exactly.
you gave the people what they wanted.
They want the YOLO.
I just save it for the platform.
Yeah.
But yeah, so something I wanted to touch on before we change subjects was kind of like, you know, when people they deload the week before the meet, and then they also take time off the week after the meet, and they kind of have this thought or this mindset of like time being infinite, and they have all this time, but dude, the clock is freaking ticking. Every day that goes by, you're a day older, and every 3 weeks that you take off is 3 weeks you don't have fast, and it's 3 weeks that are less that you'll have less to prep for your next meet. I don't think people really conceptualize this.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, it's like every day I'm not in the gym training, and it doesn't have to be peaking or lifting heavy, but any day I'm not in the gym trying to get better, it's a day that I'm not going to get back, and that's kind of like my mindset when it comes to taking time off, etc.
Yeah.
So that's why I say, like, people who take a lot of time off and deload spend so, you know, if you compete 3 times a year and you're taking the week off to deload in 2 weeks after, like how many weeks is that? That's 3 times 3, that's 9.
Yeah.
That's a lot. What's 9 out of 56? What percentage is that? Whatever. It's a big percentage too. What the fuck?
You're throwing your boyfriend on the spot here, but he's like, come on, man. But I know what you mean, and that kind of makes sense how you go like within 2 years make so much ground because you don't take no time off. You don't take like you're just hunting down goals. So how when you're in your training, because some of your lifts and training like it's always smooth. It's never like, you know, you never had some YOLO lifts, but do you walk into the gym completely,
Okay.
Do you walk into the gym for training totally like, I'm going to eat whatever the day gives me in terms of food, or I'm going to, like, not in terms of food literally, but I'm going to take whatever's there on the bar that day for training, or do you walk in there with numbers being like, for this triple, you know, or for this 4, this 5, this is the weight I kind of want because last week I did this and I feel like ramping up. Because for a lot of people, we get romantically attached and emotionally attached to numbers, and we feel, well, this week, you know, I lifted this much, next week a little bit more, next week, and you almost have it in your mind, I have to load the bar with a certain weight, and you get rattled if it's not there. How do you handle that?
Okay, so yeah, definitely there's a fine line, and I've spoken about this on previous occasions, and the concept of auto-regulation and taking responsibility for your training. So basically, it comes down to this. The only way to keep progressing and upping the weight is putting more weight on the bar. Weekly or bi-weekly or monthly. I don't care how you do it, but like if you want to get stronger, you have to eventually start putting more weight on the bar, right? So you have that decision to make, right? Like last week I lifted this much, this week I should probably try to lift this much. or
Yeah.
things like that, right?
Yeah.
But then it also comes down to, all right, like what happened this week in my life, right? Did I have a good week in terms of sleep, in terms of in relationships, emotionally? How am I feeling? Like, is this a realistic goal for me this week, given the fact that I'm in the middle of finals? Or given the fact that my dog is sick, or my bird passed away? I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
So definitely a fine line between setting goals that are realistic week by week, and also being able to have the mental strength to push yourself when you have to push yourself. Like, there's been weeks where I make zero progress at saying squat. Like, I'm doing the same weight for 5 triples, for singles. Like, it's just not going anywhere. Like, it's just kind of like that mental barrier. And it just comes down to that one day when I'm like, all right, I need to get past this 140 kilo squat, whether I want it or not. It's going to be ugly. It's going to hurt. It's going to be a grind.
Really?
But I'm going to put 145 kilos on the bar, and I'm just going to do it. Like,
No kid. Yeah.
whether it's kind of thing.
And
So it's a combination.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get it. So sometimes, because it's true, where sometimes if you load that bar and it's fight or flight kicks in, and literally the fight or flight, you get that little bolt of anxiety, like, holy shit. And you're like, when you walk in there, I got to bring 100. I can't, it's it. You force yourself in that corner. Have you ever, though, in your situation, walked in there and been like, I could force this, but I might be taking a little too much out of myself? Like, do you have to pace yourself and possibly, because you might peak in the gym as opposed to the platform, or how do you approach that? Have you felt that yet?
Yeah, no, I'm not ever worried about that. Like, I feel like I know my body pretty well by now, that I know kind of how much time I need to recover from a maximal or a 10th lift. So I'm not really worried about that, about peaking out of the platform or anything like that.
Yeah. And who does your coaching, by the way?
Hayden helps me a lot. So Hayden kind of like oversees everything. He's there every day for emotional support. But I've been writing my own program on top of like what I follow from hybrid. So I take the hybrid for powerlifting template, and I kind of modify it around what I feel like I need to do.
Okay. So for that, I was reading an interview with you previously, and you had mentioned like if, let's say, you get a little banged up, your back's hurting, you might do something like, now I'm pulling from blocks. Now I'm doing, and that's where you'll kind of make those judgment calls to introduce, to kind of accommodate.
Right, exactly. I mean, I feel like so many people are married to their program in an unhealthy way. Like, they put so much kind of pressure on themselves to follow exactly what the program says in terms of percentages and exercises, that they forget to be in tune with their own body and how they're feeling and what they need to do.
Yeah.
And even if my coach was speaking Ed Cohen, he doesn't know how I'm feeling every set. He doesn't know exactly what I need. Like, if my back feels tight in a full deadlift, he doesn't know. Like, those are all things that I should be paying attention to, and that I should educate myself enough to make the necessary adjustments to a plan.
Yeah. 100%. And when you make these judgment calls, like, do you ever do stuff like introduce pause squats or board presses or in certain variations like that? Or are you basically, do you like the full range of motion lifts? Or
No, definitely. I do a lot of box squatting. We have kind of every specialty bar that you could dream about.
You're in front of the camera.
Oh.
Yeah, we do duck-pull bars, we do cambered bars, we do safety bars, we do chains, we do bands. You know, sometimes I don't even want to know what my squat is like on a few weeks when I'm just feeling so terrible. So I'm like, I don't even want to try to do a regular squat. So I'm going to do an above parallel box squat with chains on one side. Kind of like where you are.
With chains on one side and a thorn in my other side. And then we can just... No kidding,
Like, blindfold yourself and you're like, heck yeah,
blindfold. And he didn't throw salt in my eyes as I entered the gym, and we kind of figure it out from there.
Yeah, because the mental aspect is as important as physically what you're doing. You know, feeling confident in the gym, what you're doing. Sometimes if you're tired and your training's not going well and you still keep doing the same things, you get really demoralized.
Yeah.
So, not necessary.
So sometimes switching it up just to keep things creative and spicy is how you keep things interesting as well.
Exactly.
So what are some of your future goals looking ahead? Because the next meet then you said is the U.S. Open.
So I have a small meet coming up in Hayden. When is Battle of the Bay? February? Yeah, in February there's a meet called Battle of the Bay that we're gonna do as a team. So I'm just gonna participate in that. Nothing. I mean, I don't think I'll modify my training much leading into it. I'm just gonna kind of cruise through it. I'm not even gonna cut weight or anything like that. I usually sit around 126, 127, which is perfect because I actually want to break the world record in the 132 class deadlift, which is 495.
Oh, wow. Okay, so yeah. And
that would be a perfect opportunity.
And for you, because you got 24-hour weigh-ins, do you cut water to make your weight class then, or do you just diet down into? Do you not like cutting water?
No, I honestly just stop eating like 14 hours before, and I'm usually fine. So
that doesn't sap your strength. You don't find, or
no, not at all. Just 14 hours before weigh-ins, and then if it's a 24-hour weigh-in, then I'll eat whatever I need to eat, and then
I guess with 24 hours that'd be easy enough.
Right.
Yeah. Do any of your athletes cut water, or do you guys just not believe in water cutting then?
Oh yeah, no. Several of our athletes cut water. It's a great way. I feel like you don't need to walk at your competition weight. It definitely helps to be training a little bit over it and have a little bit more flexibility with what you're eating and maybe have a higher caloric intake.
Yes.
If you can cut maybe 4, 5, 6, up to 10 pounds in the sauna, that'd be great. Mm-hmm. It's just, I feel like you just need to know, you just need to be prepared and know how much do you lose per like 10, 20 minutes in the sauna so you can be prepared. For example, I had an interesting conversation. Do you know who Stacia Almahon is? She's a 105-pound lifter. She's from me? No, 50 barbell. Whatever. She competes in all these high-level meets too. But so I was talking to her, and for me, when I get into the sauna, it takes me about 15-20 minutes to drop 1 pound, which is really fast for someone as lean as I am and as small.
Yeah,
it takes her in 20 minutes. She drops, what did she say? 0.3, 0.2 every 20 minutes.
That's nothing. Like, she'll be in there forever. Yeah, she'll be in there forever. The worst I ever did a weight cut, I think it was silly. I just wanted to see how big I could cut. It was like 16 pounds. It looked like I got in a fist fight. Like it looked like I had worked out in the gym in Japan apparently. 2 black guys. It was brutal. I felt terrible. So I think everybody at a certain point, you kind of test those limits. This was like a 20, I usually lift in the IPF where it's 2 hour. This is one time I wasn't, and it was a 24-hour weigh-in. So I just thought, hey, shit, let's see how much I could water cut and how small I could get. And there was definitely a point of, it's not going to help. It's starting to get a little too far. So I guess you kind of got to work that out on your own end of things. Do you have like a water cutting protocol that you guys follow, or is it just kind of up to the lifter? Because some people have like all scientific.
I personally haven't. I don't have any experience with like any specific water cutting protocols. Just because even when I competed in weightlifting, I was always very close to my weight. When I did weightlifting, I was around 120. I've gained 5 pounds, I would say, in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Really not significant, but yeah, I just always walk around very close to my weight, so I haven't needed to do anything.
So with all this weightlifting, you've really hung around your body, staying around the same body weight.
Yeah.
And you don't really, besides jumping up for that record, you're probably going to stay in the same weight class for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, for now at least. I really want to do a competition as a 114. Mm-hmm. I thought I was going to do the US Open as a 114 just to go for that big Wilks. Yeah. But it's looking like if I hit my projected numbers as a 123, I'll probably have the highest Wilks.
Yeah, see, the big thing is, and I don't know what the cash payouts for this US Open, but holy freaking smokes. What is it? What was it, 40 G's
40,
US?
Yeah.
Yeah,
biggest Wilks?
Yeah.
Like, that's a reason to hop on. Watch those macros. That's a reason.
This year, Mariana Gasparian won it with a 620 Wilks. Was it 620? Lower, probably lower than 620. But so with my projected numbers right now in the 123 class, I think I can get close to 625 Wilks.
Wow. So here's a question for you: with 40,000 US on the line, who's going to handle you?
Hayden.
See, this is what I'm saying. I like seriously, if my girlfriend's got $40,000 on the line and she's like, I don't even want to know what's on the bar, just pick a weight. I'm like, holy shit, man. Like that's a lot of pressure, right? On the flip side, at the very least, it's your boyfriend. You guys win it. I mean, you guys live together and everything, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's in. You lose it together, you win it together. But if I was just like a friend, or if I was just a coach, and I was with somebody and they're like, you're handling me, and I'm like, with 40K on the line, there's almost like a caddy fee like a golfer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot of dough. $40,000. Like, Hayden's going to be up all night before that. Holy smokes.
For sure. At the same time we do it, it's definitely a team effort. Most of the time, I would say 90% of the time coming into meets, I'm very, very confident.
Okay.
So it's not like I know exactly what I'm going to do. I know exactly how I'm going to jump from weight to weight, and I know exactly what's going to go down.
Okay. So at least he's following, unless something weird happens, it's already been mapped out.
Or something weird happened the night before or the week before, something like that. But
yeah, and with the U.S. Open, because you're in a lighter weight class, is that the only disadvantage would be is the other girls coming after you will know what they have to hit to try to beat your Wilks, right? So they might have some YOLO deads. And you look dead so heavy, you're like, hey, sweetheart, God bless, go for it. Hey, I'm from Venezuela, baby. You don't want to get gangster with me. God bless, brilliant. So what are your projected numbers then? Just because everyone's going to be guessing what it'll be, I'm sure. What do you, not to put too much pressure on you, if you want to hold those cards close to the chest, you go ahead. But do you have goals, you think, for the U.S. Open?
Yeah, I mean, we're 6 months away from that competition. Literally anything can happen, good or bad. But if things keep progressing the way that they're progressing, I don't see why I couldn't be able to hit more than 190 kilo squat, maybe 195. If I surprise myself, oh wait, it's wrapped. So I'll probably be able to do 200.
Oh, that's a 440 squat.
That's what I was going to ask you. She was going to go sleeved or wrapped?
Jesus.
I stuck with wraps though. Like I don't wrap them like power. I wrap them like weightlifters.
Not super tight.
I wrap myself kind of thing.
Oh, you do? Hayden doesn't wrap?
No, I just don't like the feeling of it being so tight. Like it makes me want to throw up almost.
It is. So do you think is that something you're gonna is that something you're gonna work on leading into this? See, here's the thing. There's a couple guys, like for instance, we had John Hack on, and he had coming from the IPF and never used wraps. And we're like, you gonna use wraps? He's like, for 40K? Yeah, I'm gonna work it out. I'm gonna figure it out. I mean,
yeah, for sure. I'll be okay. So last time I prepped for the US Open, I was wearing my wraps for every training session.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like mentally it made me weaker. Like I didn't even know what I could hit with sleeves, and I was so apprehensive and scared to squat heavy with sleeves afterward.
Yeah.
That this time I'm gonna do it a little bit different. I'm probably gonna half and half it, like do some sessions with wraps, some sessions with sleeves, or work on overloading my squat with wraps, kind of like at the end of the session or something like that. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna work on it more.
That definitely makes sense, because if you had, if you're used to sleeves and that's kind of your barometer where you think your strength's at, you're throwing in a variable like wraps, you're like, I'm not entirely sure where I'm at because I'm used to my numbers with sleeves. I think I'm strong, but I don't know if I should be stronger if I'm pacing well. Right. So like you're saying, like maybe keeping that benchmark every now and then where, okay, I'm on pace.
Well, and then the different pressure of the wrap each time too, right?
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah, like I know I have like an opener wrap where I that'll be the opener, and then as I move it gets a little tighter. And then by the third you don't even feel your feet.
You gotta have a wrap.
Yeah, you for sure need a wrapper.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Is there
It's a skill. It's definitely a skill that you need to develop to be able to use wraps properly.
Yeah, using equipment 100%. There are some people who they've gone over for wraps and they gave them nothing. Yeah. And they have to end up lifting without wraps. And if you can't,
even the different styles of wraps too, right? Like coming from weightlifting, you probably would prefer a wrap that had more bounce to it, more rebound than casting and stiffness. Just because that's your pattern, right?
I like the soft,
kind
of soft cloth one, not the ones that feel like are made of rubber.
Yeah.
Is there a brand you like just to throw these guys some love?
Yeah, I used to love the Kilos Not Pounds wraps, which is now owned by Meg Squats actually, and it's called Strong Supplies.
Oh, well there you go everybody. That's the wrap for Stefi Cohen. Don't get it. Is there anybody in your weight class that's on your heels at all? I feel like you throw such a huge shadow on everybody. It's got to be really tough to be in your weight class. Is there anybody nipping at your heels?
Is there? Hayden? No.
Do you search? Do you look? Are you on Instagram checking people out?
You know what? Not really.
No, you're not confident.
Unless someone gets really, really, really close. So for the longest time, do you know who Kelsey Horton is?
Yes. Oh, yes.
I thought she was in my weight class. For the longest time.
Jesus.
And I was like, oh shit, this chick's flying some big weight.
No, you said this bitch. Who's this bitch?
I'm like, who the hell is this girl?
You slid in her DMs. No, fuck, you didn't.
Oh, the BFF kind of thing.
Yeah.
What's up, girl? Be strong.
Yeah, you're like, what's your body weight at, girl? What are you doing?
That's exactly what I did. I'm like, so, like, if you were to compete, what
That's right.
weight class are you?
That's right. And then you find out she's having okay, we can be friends. We're good.
Yeah.
We're good. Okay.
She's actually really nice. I met her in person at Boss of Bosses. Super, super nice. But yeah, she did compete as a 132, and she's not planning to cutting.
Oh,
right
okay, yeah. So she might cut a little bit. She's strong as hell too. So is there people that you watch that get you amped up in terms of like just for inspiration? Because I know a lot of people all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. There's a couple. Bamba Burr.
Yeah.
Stacey Burr. She's freaking phenomenal.
She's a crazy beast.
She's crazy.
Yeah.
Christy Hawkins.
Yeah.
Fucking unbelievable.
These are the big names.
Susan Salazar.
Yeah, she's legendary too. What are those?
Those are like really freaking hardworking, intense women. Like, they're amazing.
And some of them will be at the U.S. Open, no?
Yeah, all of them, probably.
What'll it be like competing against them?
What would it be like?
Yeah, like I'm just like, it's tough when...
In fact, multiple times. I like it. It's awesome to share that they're very professional.
Yeah.
That's something that I really like. They take it very seriously. They've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
You know.
In terms of like, does it feel a little intimidating at all being in a situation where you've been in there for 2 years and some of these girls are like legends of the game, and when you hit that platform, are you just like, it doesn't matter? It doesn't matter. Are you like, how is that mentally for you? You seem mentally really strong, but.
Yeah, well, I would say that the first time that I shared a platform with them and the first time I saw them, I was extremely intimidating. I mean, they look really scary.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely the first time or first couple times I was definitely intimidated, but not to the point where it would shatter my confidence or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because I knew what I was gonna go do. But once you get to meet them and have like a one-to-one conversation with them, you realize that they're human and they're actually really, really nice people. So it kind of just takes all the fear away.
Because that would be the only downside with when you get in the game and you get so quickly to the top is, you almost skip steps where if it happened over 5 years, 6, 7 years, by the time you get there, you've met a couple people here and there, it's a little slower. You went from like 0 to hero and the it girl of powerlifting real quick, and you have like icons looking your way like, I gotta watch this girl. And and then all of a sudden, from 0 to like local meet to $40,000 on the line. It's like most people, like it's hard to even wrap around my head. Think about that. You know what I mean? Where it must be a huge. Do you ever have that moment where you sit back and be like, I got 100 and God knows how many people follow me and 40,000 K on the line? You ever have those moments, or you just like turn it off? Yeah.
For sure. I mean, it's. I never thought that's kind of was the progression that this was gonna. This is the way that it was gonna be. Never thought. Hayden said I did. I mean, I remember asking him the first time I deadlifted 300. I'm like, do you ever think that in my lifetime I'll be able to deadlift 400? And he's like, yeah, for sure. And I'm like, no way. And then I deadlifted 400, and then I said, do you think ever in my lifetime I would be able to deadlift 500? And he said, yeah, for sure. You'll be doing that by the end of the year. And I said, no way. Like, at least a few years.
Yeah.
I deadlift 500, and now I asked him if he thinks I can deadlift 600.
And what do you say?
What do you think? Definitely.
Yeah, of course. What in terms of 600, do you lay down at night and tell yourself, 2020, 2019, what are you thinking?
Man, I have no idea at this point.
Isn't it exciting? Would you ever think about doing like a deadlift only? Like, maybe not right away, but like the deadlift only would be, if you walk in there totally fresh, and you're just like, all I'm doing is deadlifting right here. You know, in a year, 2 years time, I mean, you're 25. Some girls don't even peak until they're 30. You know, for you, 600 pounds in your lifetime definitely isn't off the table. It's just more or less when you think you're comfortable to do it, and you just got to keep itching away, getting closer and closer.
Exactly. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to happen. When? I'm not sure. Like, if I keep progressing this way, maybe by the end of 2018.
Yeah.
You know, like, I put on 125 pounds to my deadlift in a year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's insane.
So
That's a great, especially, you know, at your body size, in terms of like how many times body weight you're lifting. You're in a 4-time body weight. It's insane. Do you ever feel like sometimes it's a lot of pressure to live up to because the hype around you is so crazy? Or are you just like the Ronda Rousey going in there like, I gotta live in the moment, take every opportunity I can?
sometimes it becomes a little bit of pressure, especially, but you know, it's a pressure that I put on myself, like by hyping people up. Like, I make these comments and I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna fucking crush it. And then I'm like, why did I fucking say that?
Yeah, I should just be
I'm like,
cool.
I'm like, definitely not say that. Because now if I don't do it, everyone's gonna just, you know, all the Reddit threads are gonna go insane.
But, yeah, on the flip side, I think it says more about people who can't wait till someone tries, fails, and then you jump in and see, I told you. It says a lot more about them.
They're right there waiting for you to fuck up.
Exactly. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you would do, right?
It doesn't matter.
And honestly, the sport needs somebody who walks in there confident. If everyone's like, well, I don't know, let's see what happens. If everybody was like that, how vanilla would everything be? You need all these different flavors, you know?
Exactly.
You gotta come in there representing Venezuela with a little flavor in there.
Exactly.
Feel like, bitch, I'm from Venezuela. I'm gonna hit that
100%, you know?
That's right.
Homies from Venezuela.
That's right, yeah. We don't have a lot of viewership there, but it'll be growing with you, I'm sure. There's a question you like to ask, Brian.
Oh, before we get going?
Yeah.
Alright, so, top 3 things for beginning lifters, put them in order for me. Technique, top 3. I got 3 for you, you put them in order.
Okay.
So, technique, intensity, programming. You pick and choose where they go.
What you thinking?
Intensity, programming. Wow, it's definitely a hard one.
Yeah, because you're intense as hell. Your technique is bang on too, though. And then you do programming, so you also want to sell.
I would say technique, programming, intensity.
You always,
it's always technique. See,
it's always technique.
Especially with people that have great sumo lifts. If the technique's not there, it ain't happening.
100%.
Bottom line, right?
Yes, sumo and bench are really, really, really technical lifts.
If you misgroove a bench,
oh yeah, you misgroove a bench, like you said, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done.
And especially coming from weightlifting background, and your technique is gonna be up there too, because that shit's hard.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how strong you are. If your technique is not good, then you're gonna suck.
You're leaving so much money on the table in terms of what you could be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And one question I always like to ask is, when all is said and done, and I know you're 2 years deep, and God knows the future for you is bright, who knows where you're gonna end up. But when all is said and done, okay, you know you're talking about like Ed Cohen, you know, the Dan Greens of the world, and all these other girls that you look up to. How do you want people to look back and see you when they think of Stefi Cohen?
As, you know, someone who positively influenced them in both inside and outside of the gym, you know, not someone who just posted, you know, my PRs or whatever, who shared struggles and who shared a little bit more in-depth of my experience with powerlifting.
Good enough answer for me. All right, well listen, thanks for sitting in with us, champ. Love to have you back. You're you're a good personality and everything, and good luck with training.
Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Have a good one.
Bye, guys.
It was a good one, right?
Yeah.
I knew like she's got a little that southern
Latin
flavor
right.
to her,
Yeah.
man. She's feisty. I didn't know it was 2 years though.
That's the amount of people. That's what I said. Remember, like, it's that CrossFit. Thank you very much.
It's funny because you said that last night.
Yeah, and then when we're working out, and I'm like, CrossFit's doing it.
Thank you,
like,
CrossFit, for being too damn complicated. That somebody with a full-time job can't do it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And if Stefi Cohen, who's a freak, some people are like, well, if you're a freak athlete, maybe you could take off. Stefi Cohen is the biggest freak athlete you're gonna find.
Yeah.
Okay, if she's like
that's the top of your genetic pool
yes,
when we were talking about
100%,
genetics with you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's that thing, right? Where we're gonna bring in all those genetic people that are just next level.
Yeah.
That can focus on this sport now.
And the one thing with like CrossFit too, I mean, I don't want to turn this into a shit kicking a CrossFit, but what the hell, we got a minute. Yeah, like I need something that I could barometer like everything else too that I know about. Like I don't know, oh, she did 1,000 burpees. Well, I don't know, is that fucking good or whatever, right? This is a little different. But 2 years. 2 years and this is it.
2 years and 4 times bodyweight deadlift.
I know people with 2 years in the game, you just start getting your feet wet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 2 years now, she's like, I've seen her schedule. You know, in terms of flying around doing seminars, in terms of the type of podcast. If you Google Stefi Cohen, in terms of like what you're gonna find with all the different interviews in 2 years in the game, man, how does she not lay down at night when she's about to go for $40,000 US? Well, and I'm like, holy shit! And there's like giants around who've been competing for a decade.
Yeah,
that's crazy, man.
And 8 weeks into a PhD final and everything, you know, like I'm just gonna go lift and re-rock,
I didn't know that.
I'm gonna do my.
In her whole background with like maybe this whole. You know, growing up, where like all this changes that she's used to, from Venezuela, like Scientology to breaking from a Venezuelan dictator to, you know, the U.S., all these quick changes she's used to. Yeah. She's been acclimatized in a respect, right? Yeah.
Everything happens in her life like that. Yeah. Like everything's just like boom, 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 boom. This is normal.
Dude, I'll tell you what, when she like, we had the last question we asked, when you sit back and look at yourself in your career. Yeah. When she does sit back and look at her career, if she ever bites of her fucking story, she'll have some stories to tell. And God knows if she pulls 600, like I hope she pulls 600. Yeah. I wasn't lying when I said like she feels like the Conor McGregor of our sport, kind of where people are just. I mean it in terms of like obviously McGregor's massive, but I mean it in terms of she gets people excited. Man, woman, it crosses over. Man, strength. People are just like, look, I'm a guy who's twice her size in real life, but I am like can't believe what she's doing, and I can't wait to see what her next pull is, right? Yeah. And it opens up, like, is a woman 120 pounds capable of deadlifting 600 pounds?
Well, and the thing that she's like, well, I've only put on 5 pounds in the past however many years. Yeah. So your strength has gone up exponentially that much, and you've only put on 5 pounds. And you know, so when people are like, well, I gotta gain weight to get stronger. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
It also throws that in there. And she checks her macros. Yeah. You know, maybe at some point if she ups her macros, like, fuck it, we're going to go on more bodybuilding, I'm going to throw some more muscle mass. Who knows what she's capable of.
I think that's become a big thing in powerlifting now, too, is, you know, like she said, the athletic side of it. You know, you got to fuel your body with the right things for your body to perform. And I think that's becoming more prominent because you're seeing these jacked up, like, shredded powerlifters.
Actually, like, you don't have room. Yeah. It's refreshing that she's like, I want to be an athlete. Yeah. You know, and it helps my training. And cycling off, if you're just killing yourself, you need to have an off season. Yeah. Keep that in mind. Off season.
Yeah. Well, and like that guy she's going, like that real world tactical guy she's going to.
I don't know.
You've probably seen videos. He's like flipping tires, pulling trucks at the same time, and getting judo kicked and all this other stuff. It's insane. Like that's taken CrossFit times, strongman times, whatever. He's doing it all. It's pretty insane. Yeah. I don't really know what to call it as far as training wise goes, but the guy's strong. I think he pulls over 6 no problem. And, you know.
So it feels like I totally understand what she's saying too in terms of not only just for your body to have an off season, but mentally. Yeah. You could gas out. Oh yeah. If you're doing the same thing monotonous wise, you need the same kind of intensity, especially when you're bringing the PRs that she brings week after week.
Well, that's
We repost the shit out of her because we're all. If I'm looking. In terms of like reposting, I'm like, I can't find nobody, nobody's doing nothing. I'm like, let's see what Stefi Cohen's doing. If everyone seemed to have a fucking deload week, Stefi Cohen's killing it. Stefi Cohen's doing something crazy. Or she's got some like, just a selfie looking all jacked. Whatever, you post it, right? Yeah. Anyways, good interview, guys. Listen, at 6 o'clock, we got Nick Best. If you don't know who Nick Best is, again, you must be living in a freaking cave. Dude is world champ. He's two-time USAPL champ. This is back in the 90s. This guy's been around forever, 50 years old.
8-time World Strongman finalist.
8-time World Strongman finalist. The guy's a complete beast, 50 years old, still killing it. Make sure you come back. You want to talk about longevity. Yeah. And murdering it. I mean, he's in a sport where guys, it's like WWE, where guys die in their 30s, man. It's brutal.
Well, and just setting world records in the 308 class for Masters Powerlifting this year.
He's still killing it.
Like,
and he's a beast. And we'll talk about his rivals, what he thinks about all the big names, from Brian Shaw to Zdrunas Savikas to Dimitrios Pusinowski to Derek Parrelson. The guys faced them all. Okay, so make sure you come back at 6 o'clock. And this is also going to be reposted on our YouTube link, which is in our bio. So if you guys want to watch it again, you missed something. I know the angle of the phone isn't the greatest, but we got a camera recording and it's a lot better. Thanks for checking it out, guys. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, guys, the one thing comment I seen on it, they're like, we can't see her, she's washed out, like, on the screen. And I was looking at the phone, and, like, you can't really see her on the screen. But you'll be able to see her on camera.
Yeah.
So whatever. Fuck 'em. It was funny because right when some guy asked a question about bulking and cutting and...
One second. Okay, now we done.
Yeah, one guy asked about bulking and cutting, and literally like 20 seconds later she started talking about bulking and cutting as if like we telepathically told her to.
So we got to try to not have a washed out.
Well, that was the only thing that we could really like...
Well, if you come around, you could fill it with a little. I think it's
Well, and that's like, if...
Just come around
It's
this
just
side.
kind of here.
Yeah.
Like, where she comes up is right in the middle of that screen, right? So, yeah, if we go in a bit, maybe... Because I just had to start it over, because it like only plays an hour at a time, right?
Oh, does it?
So that's why I went in and I tried to fucking flip it to start it over, because I seen it cut out, and I'm like, fuck, how much are we missing? So I shared the first one, so that'll play for 24 hours. Yeah. And then if you probably just shared that one or whatever.
Do you? I don't know. How do you share?
Did we turn this off yet? No, we're still recording?